Has Lamar wrapped up the MVP?
No, he's increased his lead, obviously, after last night with Russell Wilson. But you can't say he's wrapped it up because 3 games can change perception a lot more than people realize. Just think of how we perceived things a couple games ago, right? And Stephen A will do his Stephen A's list. And by the way, it's a fluid list, right, Stephen A? You have to always say that because we all react to these things.
Correct.
There was a time earlier this year where it looked like here comes Aaron Rodgers, and he's just better than these other dudes, so he's going to win the MVP. Or like what Russell Wilson is doing, he's got it. And that or before Mahomes got hurt. Okay, it's Mahomes and the rest of the league. And now Lamar's had this amazing string, and he is solidly the favorite. He is the favorite to win. I'd put my money on him to win.
So would Vegas. Yeah. 90% chance to win
right
now.
I don't know if I wouldn't say 90, but they know better than me. Look, Jets at Browns and Steelers. So maybe the Steelers game winds up being a big game because Steelers are playing for their playoff lives or something like that. And, so there's some high leverage games there. But if Russell Wilson gets it together at Panthers, that, they haven't looked great recently, Cards, and then Niners at Seattle. Like the last game of the season, if Russell Wilson is playing for something there, high profile against the Niners defense and balls out, and Lamar, maybe they've already wrapped it up. Maybe he takes the foot off. Who knows? But there's plenty of stuff that can happen in the next 3 games where Russell Wilson could leapfrog.
Well, first of all, here's where I think you're wrong, and I totally agree with you. I disagree with you. I think Lamar Jackson has it wrapped up. But I hear your arguments. But let me take all the stuff, all the ancillary stuff. First of all, you look at Aaron Rodgers. You see the way that Green Bay's offense has struggled where you're anticipating blowouts and they end up struggling, winning games by relatively low scores, considering what you expected of them. You look at Patrick Mahomes. 2 of the last 3 games, he threw for 200 yards. It wasn't, spectacular performances. Plus, I think he's going to be measured based off of what happened last year. 50 touchdowns, just 12 interceptions. He was so phenomenal last year that people are going to judge his drop-off this year, albeit to injury, the 21 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions, but the 21 touchdowns as opposed to 50. Obviously, he'll throw a few more before the season ends, and they're going to look at it and measure it against that, and they're going to say, not the same. So there's going to be a drop-off. Then we get to Russell Wilson. You lost head-to-head to Lamar Jackson, okay? You didn't have a great game against Philly. You certainly didn't have a great game last night. So those are 3, even though they won 5 straight coming into last night before losing to the Rams, those 3 victories.
Memorable games.
Those 3 games, like I said, Baltimore, Philadelphia, and the Rams last night, I think they're going to resonate. And the last point to support Lamar Jackson is this. Do y'all know that in the last 5 games, Lamar Jackson hasn't even thrown for 250 yards? In the last 5 games, he hasn't thrown for 250 yards. He's thrown for over 200 just twice. The other 3 games, he hasn't even thrown for 200 yards, okay? But he rushes. He's got 1,017 yards rushing. They have the #1 offense. They have the #1 running attack. And he is the team's leading rusher. So in other words, if he's in the lead now, they're not measuring him because of how he's flinging that football 300, 350, 400 yards. They're measuring him by a different standard. So in order for Lamar Jackson to lose the MVP award, in my estimation, he can't run the football.
You got to
we all know he's going to run the football. The only way he would lose is if he makes no plays with his feet. He doesn't run the football, and he simply resorts to being a pocket passer for the final 3 games of the season, and he still doesn't do these numbers. That's not going to happen. Lamar Jackson's got it locked up.
You could argue he's the story of the season. Him and the Niners are the
question.
story.
No, Lamar Jackson is the story of the season.
But also how strong the Niners have been, too. I think
and to that point, Stephen A., his passer rating higher than all those guys we're talking about. Yeah. But here's the thing, Max. You talk about the rest of the season. Lamar went through the gauntlet already. Like, that's why I think he's clearly, like Vegas has him 90%, because it has been against the 49ers, the Pats, the Bills. We held their defense in high regard as well with what he was able to do.
The Seahawks.
And the Seahawks as well. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that creates, and that's why, everybody gravitates to First Take, because you know why? It's must watch. Lamar has that element. And let's not pretend that when we're talking about MVP, that the must-watch factor is not a big part of the decision-making, especially when we talk about media. So for like Pat Mahomes last year, must watch. Like we were giving Pat Mahomes, we were putting Pat Mahomes in the conversation of this guy will be the greatest to ever do it when it's over. Lamar is doing it in an unconventional way, which I think gives him a little bit more of an advantage because it's so unconventional. And people are like, look at this team. Not only that, the most important thing I think for his MVP run is the guys that's on his team. They literally vouching for him every single time they get in front of a camera. All of that is a culmination of why he's out front in the MVP vote.
What we're really arguing about, I think you're both making good points. What we're really arguing about is what does locked up mean? Like, what does it mean to lock something up, right? Is that done already? And all I'm saying is this didn't happen yesterday. But a lot of this we're basing on right now, not your arguments, but the feeling we're getting that it's already over in terms of the MVP, is that Russell Wilson just last night, didn't come through with one of his better games at the same time that all the. So if Russell Wilson, just redo that one game, and Russell Wilson balled out and beat the Niners, right? Like, what? Excuse me, the Rams. The Rams. Just beat the Rams. Balled out and beat the Rams.
He did beat the Niners, by the way.
Right, he did beat the Niners. We would be thinking differently. We'd be feeling differently about this. That's one game.
We would probably feel it was closer, but I still would feel like Lamar had a big lead.
But not just that. Here's the thing, Max. Again, when you look at the box office appeal, and then you take into account how clearly they're judging Lamar by a different standard, because similar to Michael Vick, but on an elevated level. The point is, Russell Wilson doesn't just have to win. He has to win, like he has to be so spectacular and so exceedingly better than Lamar Jackson over the last 3 weeks, and the Ravens have to be so considerably worse than the Seahawks over the last.
What makes it so hard?
That's what it is.
What makes it so hard is when you look at the schedule, do you think the Ravens are going to lose to the Jets or at Cleveland, right? You don't think that's going to happen, or even to the Steelers. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.